All right. Kristen David, so glad to see you.
I'm so excited to be here. This is awesome.
All right. So I've got so many things that I want to say. First, I'm going to start with a disclaimer because you are legally an attorney.
I am.
Let me do the legal disclaimer here first. Nothing here is actual advice. We are giving information to the best of our knowledge, especially if we cover anything with the CARES Act. That changes. Every 3 days we get interim final guidance. And nothing in this discussion is constitute client-attorney privilege. So there's that out of the way. And let's see, what else did I want to get out of the way? I think really that I'm just so excited. We put a really sensational title on this of how to inoculate. God, I can't talk today. How to inoculate yourself against the coronavirus, financially inoculate yourself. And I think that that's really true. And it's a matter of putting some policies in place. And when we're talking about policies, Kristin, you come to mind because I can remember like 7 or 8 years ago, sitting in the first policies and procedures workshop that you ever attended.
Yeah.
And you took to it like a duck to water.
Yes, I did.
I have a giant binder. The vast majority of it didn't get done. The financial part did because that's my bliss. But Kristen David of Uplevelling Your Business, why don't you give us like a quick little bit about you and who you are, and then I guess I should do the same for myself at some point. So you introduce, then I'll introduce, and then we'll be good.
Excellent. Well, so my name's Kristen David. I'm an attorney from the Pacific Northwest. And yes, I met Brooke. Oh, it's been quite a number of years ago. And I was struggling. I had a law firm. I was working 85 hours a week and just couldn't keep up and knew there had to be a better way to run this business. Like, I loved being the technician, but I knew there needed to be a better system for running all the other parts of the business. And found myself in a policies and procedures workshop, learned how to systematize my business, wrote my first business plan, doubled in 9 months from about 350 to 700, rewrote a business plan, doubled again in the next 9 months, built it up, sold it, and have been working with business owners ever since, helping them double and triple their businesses. So I am blessed in that I've gotten to go from that struggling to thriving, and really have seen everything in between. And I am excited to be here. Brooke, you have taken off as well. I know your business, I've worked with some of your clients who are so much more in control of their numbers. For those in the audience that don't know you, please jump in and tell us a little more about you.
All right, I'm Brooke Lively. I own Cathedral Capital, and we help make companies more profitable by serving as their outsourced CFO. And I am very focused on the profit. I don't care how fast you're growing. I don't care what your top line revenue is. I care how much money you're taking home, and if that is creating the life that you want. I don't want people working, Kristin, like you are 85 hours. So we really dig down and we help people run their business by the numbers. We make data-driven decisions. So that's who we are. I want to go back to something you said, Kristin. Yeah. You said that you built your firm and you sold it. And you actually got money for selling a law firm, which, I mean, law firms aren't really worth a lot, but yours was. So why was yours worth more?
There's a couple different parts. I mean, number one, anybody that's out there that has a business, there are so many ways that you can position your business to sell. In fact, I've been working with clients in the last 6 months. I've had 3 of my clients sell their businesses. Holy so cow. So it's as long as you have a strategy and a plan, it goes a long ways. But the other key part in my business was those policies and procedures and systems, those things that I spent all that time after that first workshop building, it was all together. It became a manual that was about this big, about a little over an inch. There was a general manual, a financial systems manual, a sales manual, marketing manual. Those together became $100,000 negotiating point towards the sale price of my business, just for that one asset. All those systems in one big book. And so it's real. It's true equity you're building and putting into your business. And, you know, it's what makes the business turnkey for someone else to come in and, you know, really buy something that's going to crank along without the owner having to micromanage everything in it. And so that's what we're going to talk about today. I want to share some, you know, short-term and long-term benefits, how to build them. We're going to go fast and furious. And I've got some examples to go with some of these financial policies we talked about that we want to share with everybody, of how to help inoculate through COVID-19, how you create those checks and balances for those red flag moments and know when you need to really pivot instead of pushing through.
Yeah, so let's talk about that a little bit. One of the members of my team used a great phrase for this. She called them circuit breakers. So like just in your electrical system, when it gets unloaded, you know, it shuts off, just boom, it's done. There are a lot of financial policies and procedures that you should have, right? I mean, Kristin, you had a whole financial one. But these are ones that you really need to sit down and look at what's happening in your business and look at coronavirus and look at worst case scenario. So we're what, 2 months in? About?
Yes.
Kristin, do you think we've seen the worst of this yet?
No. I actually live a third of my year in Paris, France, and we've got many friends and colleagues all through, you know, France and Switzerland and London, and it is much more rampant there than it is here yet. And we have not seen the end of this. This is going to continue, guys, for quite some time. It's going to come in waves. So now's the time to sit down, get some of those financial policies in place, know where you're going to need to pivot.
Yeah, and I agree with you. I think that we're going to see a second wave this fall. But I also think, like, I look at my business and your business and a lot of our clients' businesses. We don't have a ton of restaurant clients. Restaurants were impacted, boom, immediately.
Yeah.
I think some of the economic impact is going to take some time to trickle through the rest of the economy. So I don't know that our clients have really started to see it yet. And that's my concern. Like, I want people to be prepared for that because I think it's going to happen. And the way you do that is to start looking at some metrics and making some decisions, and you make them in advance. So we talk about looking ahead, right? And planning, because that's really what we're looking at. We want to be prepared. And so we want to create some circuit breakers. And I'm kind of looking at a document here, which I may or may not share, but let's talk about it. So it's looking ahead. It's making decisions. It's deciding, if A happens, what are we going to do in B? Because we all know that we get into situations that we don't expect or that aren't normal, and all of a sudden you start to panic a little, right?
Yeah.
But if there's a policy, if you know that when this happens, you're supposed to do this. I mean, you get on an airplane, what's the first thing they tell you? In the event of a loss of, you know, the airbag's going to drop. Pull it, yank it, put it on yourself, and then put it on others. What we're talking about is kind of the same thing. In the event of A, you are going to do B.
Yes.
And so when we're looking at them, you need to look at your business and decide what it is. So I'm going to share one. Is that okay, Kristen?
Excellent. Yeah.
All right. So this is a circuit breaker that we worked on with a client, and I'm pretty sure I've taken the client's name off. And so we looked at the drivers. This is a law firm, and you can look at the metrics. These are the things that we are tracking in this firm. We are tracking their cash at the end of the week, or I'm sorry, that's revenue. We're tracking the hours that are getting billed. We're checking the bank balance, and we're checking the amount of the line of credit that's being used. And when we hit these targets, the following things are going to happen. So if we're good, then if we're getting 30,000 in a week, if we're hitting 117 billed hours, if the bank balance is 105,000 and we're not having to draw down on the line of credit, then look, the two partners are getting money. If we go to bad, if our collections drop by a third, if our hours drop, if our bank balance drops, if our line of credit drops, the partners are getting less money, and poor Antonio is getting his salary.
Yeah.
And so is Karen, right? And I'm going to move this to in-house. Like, we start to cut some expenses.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's not just about salary, but it's about what are those other expenses. Kristen, I mean, have you ever like really looked at your credit bill in depth and been like, I didn't know I was still paying for that?
Yep. Absolutely. Absolutely.
So, I mean, we need to get rid of those right now.
Mm-hmm.
But if we're doing these things, if we hit horrible, so if cash drops by 50%, if our hours drop to 80, if the bank balance hits 50,000, we've drawn $100,000 on the line of credit, the partners are getting 10,000 each. And we have now fired Antonio and Karen.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to make any decisions here.
Yeah.
We have 4 things that we're tracking. And I'm not saying that all 4 have to be met. Maybe we've hit 3 of the 4.
Yeah. Yeah.
Make that decision. So this was for a particular law firm. And I know that I know everybody wants to see what's on my Google. I know that you work with a lot of companies. What are some things that you like to track that you think people should be looking at to be able to make those kinds of decisions? And what do you think those decisions are?
So, yeah, everybody needs to be looking at, there's 2 types of metrics. And I know you go through this with your clients. There's lag metrics, meaning what happened last month, what happened last year. Like these are the reports, like your P&L, where you see, okay, this is what happened in the past. And lag metrics, LAG. Then there's the lead metrics, LEAD. This is what's telling you what's coming in the future. So your cash flow forecasts, your sales metrics that are running through, your projections on, you use the example of an attorney and billable hours, right? Or in other industries, it could be their production and how many widgets they're making or whatever it might be, right? And so you want to be looking at some of those lead metrics to tell you what's coming, and so that you can have some checks and balances to raise those flags. So I want to share, very similar to what you had in the numbers, there's a way to create those in written format in your policies and procedures. And so real quick, just backing up for everybody that is maybe not as familiar with what are policies, what are procedures, how do they all work? You and I have been dealing with this for so long, it's second nature.
Absolutely.
So policies are the why we're doing this. Like, it's the overview. Think of it as kind of the big picture. And you always want to explain to the reader what's in it for them. Like, why should they, it introduces the concept and why we're going to do it this way and why this is going to help everybody in the company work better. The procedure is then that step-by-step instruction that breaks down what we're going to do. So a system is a culmination of all these different policies, procedures, examples, templates, checklists that bring it all together to help it run and function smoothly. So I'm just going to share my screen here of, this is, for instance, in my own business right now, Uplevelling Your Business Financial Systems Manual. And this is similar to what I had in my law firm. I'm not using a trust account anymore, and some of it gets done, but you always want to like explain who's on your team, talk about how you're bringing money in, how money's going out the door, set the standards with your monthly bookkeeping, monthly reports, your metrics. And what I really want to kind of bring you to is we're going to kind of scroll down, and I want to bring you through, again, you're always setting those boundaries of like, who's responsible for what? It's always the who shall do what by when. But specifically, I want to go to cash balance, because this was something that was one of those things. You want to have a policy, and this is perfectly on point, Brooke, to what you guys call the circuit breaker. Like, when do you have to hit that, like that button? So here's one that I always had in my business. You can have a percentage or you can have an amount. It's the policy of the company to always have a cash cushion equal to 100% of our monthly expenses. This allows the company to focus on strategic growth, not worry about this month's expenses. Then here's those circuit breakers. If at any time the account drops below 50% of the monthly expenses, the owner should be notified. So it's like a raising the red flag, right? Hey, alert, this is alarming, or maybe the orange flag, right? And then there's the, if at any time the account drops below 25%, and listen, guys, maybe these numbers are 75 and 50 for you. It depends on where you are in your growth of your business.
Or it could be a dollar value.
Yeah, a dollar value. In my law firm, it was, when I was doing 60,000 a month, it was 50,000. When I was doing 120,000 a month, it was 100,000. So it can adjust as you grow your business. But then when it drops to a certain level, that floor, this is like emergency meetings shall be scheduled within 24 hours. And that's like what you're talking about on the spreadsheet where, we've got kind of an interim, hey, these are some things we should be doing. Here's where it's like, uh-oh, we got to cut. We can't just push through. We got to pivot. Here you're thinking, okay, we need to do some more marketing. We need to bring this cash balance up. Here we're like, okay, not only do we need to hype up some marketing, but we got to start looking at, do we need to lay people off? Do we need to cut some expenses? Do we need to renegotiate with some vendors, right? You really have to put yourself into that owner CEO position and start making some decisions. But like you pointed out, Brooke, it's always easier if you already know what those decisions need to be ahead of time.
Right. And I think this is so good. I love the 50% and the 25% or whatever those levels are. And this is awesome for regular life, but we're currently in COVID life and we need to take it just a little further. And it's like you said, it's making those decisions. It's knowing that when we drop at 50%, the owner needs to be doing A, B, C, and D, because you can make that decision so much better when you're calm. I mean, really, when the house is on fire, is that the time to go find a phone book to figure out how to call the fire department? No. You need to already know, house on fire, 911, right?
Yeah.
Because I use that example because I had a friend who looked out the window and the house like across the street was literally on fire. So he knew 911. So she calls 911 and they said, "What's your address?" She'd lived there for years. She couldn't remember her address because she was under so much stress and there was so much adrenaline flowing. And luckily the 911 operators have been trained in this. And they said very calmly, "Is there a piece of mail anywhere?" And she's like, "Yes, there's a whole stack. Pick up a piece of mail and read me your address." And she's like, "Oh my God, this person's brilliant." But, as your CFO, we want to be that 911 operator. Mm-hmm. We want to say, let's make sure that you always know what your address is.
Yeah.
and that there's no panic, because you're going to panic. Coronavirus is panic inducing in so many ways. Like, not only in your business, but now all of a sudden your entire family's home all the time. You've got one, if not two spouses trying to work. You've got children that are trying to go to school. You've got parents that are trying to homeschool. And all of this is very conductive to running your business.
Yeah.
So like, you're already under stress just in your home environment. When you start to layer that business stress on top, it's kind of crazy.
Yeah. Well, and Brooke, will you talk a little bit? I mean, I don't know how many people on here have worked with a CFO, but a CFO really can be that strategist and be proactive on identifying risks, addressing like, where are those timeouts? Where are those, don't just haphazardly pick 75%, 50%, or, have a strategic plan when you're stable and when you feel good about the business and you can be objective. Don't wait, like you said, with the burning house, like, don't wait till you're under stress and freaking out to try to create these policies, create these numbers that are going to be the floor, the check marks that go, oh, wait, we're here. We need to pivot.
Right.
So talk about, share a little bit about like, what's it like to work with a CFO, how you partner with the owners to really help them become the best they can be.
So we do it in a couple of ways. First of all, as much as we care about our clients, and we do truly care about our clients, it's not our business. We don't have the same emotional attachment. So we are much better equipped to make a calm reason. So that's the first thing.
Yes.
The second thing is we have an immense amount of experience, not just our individual CFOs, but also we have two divisions. We've got a CFO division. We've got our Elevate division, which does technology integration and bookkeeping. The idea of that division is to elevate your business through technology. And so between all of us, I mean, we've got fraud examiners, we've got CPAs, we have someone that grew a company from $5 million to $70 million.
Wow.
Serving one of our CFOs. Like, we've got this incredible breadth of knowledge that we bring to the table. And if you don't have a CFO, if you're not working with someone that has that kind of experience, you're trying to figure everything out on your own. I mean, you are literally reinventing the wheel, and it just doesn't have to be that hard. We really partner with our clients, and we look, we've said before that we advocate for the business. What is it that the business needs? And we can look at it dispassionately and say, this is what the business needs to not only survive, but to thrive. And we do it through looking at data. We do it by going through your financials. Kristin, and I know you know this because you've worked with some really good financial people and you've gotten good at the finances yourself over the years. But you know how an attorney can read a brief and know exactly what it's saying? Mm-hmm. How sometimes for a layperson, not so easy?
Yeah.
Financial people can read your P&L. Mm-hmm. I see the entire story of your business in that.
Yeah.
And if you add in the balance sheet, man, I really know everything about you. And I can look at it and say, you're experiencing this and this is happening. Mm-hmm. And that's amazing to have someone who can basically, be the Rosetta Stone for you and decode that and decipher that and then give you that strategic advice about how to move forward and how to fix it and how to maximize.
Yeah. And it's, when you're inside the box, it's so hard to read the instructions on the outside, right? When you're in that world, it's hard to like look objectively at your P&L and break it down. But when you're on the outside and you look at, for instance, when you look at a P&L, Brooke, I know you're like, oh, there's this. You can tell so much of what's going on in this business just in literally 60 seconds or less. And that's the value of a CFO who's going to be able to zing in on what's going on and help you build that up and fix those problems. Absolutely.
And it's a partnership, and you've experienced the partnership, right? You had that benefit of knowing that there's someone who has your back and knows more than you do, giving you advice. And at the end of the day, it's your company and it's your decision, and you're the one that has to execute.
But this is part of surrounding yourself with a great team, right? You always have good coach, good CFO, good CPAs, people that are, and you want to surround yourself. A good banker, yes.
How important is a good banker right now?
Very, very important right now.
If I could figure out how to do a poll, let me see if I can do a poll. I'm going to try this.
You could do a poll. While you're getting that pulled up, I'll tell a quick story about policies and procedures and how they not only stabilized my business, but it helped my staff. And so when I had gone to that first policies and procedures workshop, I came back and I spent 2 months building out my financial systems manual. And during that time, I worked with my bookkeeper. We wrote down all these different procedures, but we also set those guidelines, like these circuit breakers. Like, if this happens, that's when we're going to use the line of credit. If this happens, this is when we're going to look to do X, Y, or Z. And about a year later, it was, you got a poll. Let's do it. Yeah.
Right.
You know your banker's name.
Do you know your banker's name?
I do know my banker's name. I'm voting.
My banker's name, Brandy. She rocks. I was one of the first people in Fort Worth that got funded for the PPP from my bank, because
awesome.
I know my banker.
Surrounding yourself with a great team. Hey, has everybody voted? I hope they're voting.
Yeah, not everyone's voted yet, but people are voting. All right, we got 5 yeses and 1 no.
Ooh.
No, may I introduce you to your banker, please?
Awesome. You want to close the poll and share those?
There you go.
83%.
83%.
Cool.
That's really good. I love that.
Yeah.
All right.
So when that's okay. When you're building those policies and procedures, guys, you work with your bookkeeper, but you've got to reassure them that it's for their own benefit, because when they need to step away, we've got the stabilization in the business so that the bookkeeper can step away and not come back to a mess. And this actually happened with my bookkeeper. Her father died unexpectedly, and she needed to step away and be with her mom and her family. And for 2 months, we had to use a temp bookkeeper. But because we had all those policies and procedures and the financial systems manual, the temp was able to come in, see exactly how it was done, and step right in and do everything the same great way our bookkeeper did. And then at the end of the 2 months, hand it back over to the bookkeeper. She wrote me the nicest thank you note, saying when she had stepped away, she felt so good knowing everything was documented, everything was clear. She wasn't going to come back to a nightmare, that the firm was going to be okay. And it just gave her such relief to know that the business was stable. And it gave me relief as an owner that the business was stable. Because for some of you, imagine if your bookkeeper disappeared all of a sudden. It's scary. It's very scary.
Well, and it's so funny because we work with bookkeepers all the time. We're like, all right, we need to get your policies and procedures in place. And they're like, you're trying to fire me. I'm like, no. I would like for you to be able to go on vacation and not get 42,000 phone calls. How do I write a check? How do I do this? I can't figure out this. Oh my God, we have to run payroll. Like, that's not helpful, right?
Yeah. So listen, this is, you guys, part of this whole process, and whether it's that the PPP loans or with other things going on in your business, in your life, use every one of these adventures, these mishaps, to become a catalyst to make better change, to create that stabilization. If you didn't have a local banker that was helping you out, you know what? Let this be a lesson of maybe we need to find somebody that's going to have our back next time. Maybe we need to boost our team. I had a CPA for years who didn't really connect with me. My CPA now, he grew a business from scratch to multiple millions of dollars. I think he sold it when it was close to 50 million. And he knows what it's like to grow fast. And and we can connect so much faster on what I'm doing, growing. I mean, my goal was to build this in a $1 million business in 12 months. I probably will take 15 or 16 months to get there. But you know what? I can't complain about 15 or 16 months to get there. And he knows what I'm going to go through. He knows how to help position me. So surround yourself with a team that's been there, that knows how to do this stuff, guys.
And can we go back to the banker thing for a second? Because one of the people sent us a chat, and I want to address it. And it said they knew their banker's name, but it didn't help when it came to the PPP. And interestingly, they're at a big national bank. And I am a huge fan, and have been for years, of banking with a regional bank. And here's why. Those big banks are convenient, and it's really nice sometimes. However, the small bank, when it comes down to getting a loan, you need someone who can actually go in front of the loan committee. And this is not about PPP, this is about regular loans. Who can go in front of the loan committee and argue your case and say, look, I know the balance sheet doesn't look perfect, but they've done this and they've done that. And there's a story. And when you are applying for a loan for regional banks, the loan officer is going to have to write, they need a write-up, right?
Yeah.
What they use it for, why they need it, how it's going to help, what the results are going to be, that the company's stable enough to take this on. Write that for your banker.
Yeah.
Because no one knows your business as well as you do. No one is going to be as passionate as you do. And really, let's face it, you want this person advocating for you, so the easier you can make their job, the better. Big national banks, it is an algorithm. They're punching numbers into a computer until you get huge. And then, like when you want a $50 million loan, they might talk to you and you might get a loan committee. So, be friendly.
So, guys, this goes to.
Wait, I want to say what Kristin just said, that she's the one that said no. She actually knew her banker's name. Banker said no because, it was useless to know her banker's name because she's at Chase and the experience was awful. She was at WAMU for years and got lazy when Chase bought them out. Lesson learned. Yeah, it is. I think coronavirus, as horrible as it is, those businesses that take the opportunity to learn and to change are going to come out of this so much stronger. Don't you think, Kristin?
Yeah. I mean, and that's the thing, is that every part of this should be helping your business get stronger. You should be adding to, creating those guidelines, creating the circuit breakers, reassessing. I mean, listen, guys, every 6 months, you should be going through parts of your financial systems and reassessing and checking on, like, have a system to go through and say, are we maximizing our use on our expenses, or are we maximizing our use on our merchant services, like credit card merchants? Are we, using our line of credit? Do we need to proactively be asking for some raises? So that's another circuit breaker tip, everybody, for those of you taking notes. I love your circuit breaker thing, Brooke. I absolutely love that you and your team have developed. So circuit breaker tip, guys, it needs to say in your business plan as well as your financial systems manual, as you grow your business, every 6 months, you should be reassessing where you are with your line of credit and asking for, creating your business credit and asking for some larger amounts. That's so right. That as you grow, don't wait till you're 2 million.
When do they give you an increase in your line of credit?
Never, unless you ask, practically. No.
When you don't need it. They want to loan money to people who don't need it. Lines of credit are basically virtually free insurance, right?
Yeah.
So I want to go back to something you said earlier. So we talked about, I put up a spreadsheet, which was oh so pretty, but sometimes it's function over form. And those were right for that particular firm. But I agree with you. Those were kind of lagging indicators. let's talk about what some leading indicators would be that people would need to be looking at so that you can make a decision before you feel it in your pocket.
So I would definitely say, kind of jump in at number of active clients, whether you sell products or services, or most people have clients or customers of some sort. And a lead metric that ties in with your business plan is like how many you need to be getting every single month. And so you can have a policy and procedure that says, it's the policy of the company to maintain the correct number of active clients per the business plan to sustain productivity and workflow. Remember, we got to say, why does this matter? Well, we want to sustain productivity and workflow. So then subpart, or else nobody gets paid.
Or else we go out of business.
So then you go on to say, kind of like before, as an example, if at any time the number of active clients falls below, say, 75% of the monthly goal, the owner shall be notified so pocket marketing campaigns can be performed. So pocket campaigns are, if it's the 20th or 22nd of the month and we're down, we could flip a little switch and run a quick campaign designed to boost and give us another 5-10 clients, right? Yeah. Then you've got another provision that says if at any time the number of clients falls below 50%, yikes, that's when we're raising the red flag. The owner shall be notified and an emergency meeting shall be scheduled within 24 hours. So it's like, kind of like you were saying, there's like the bad and then there's horrible. Like bad, okay, we work on marketing. Horrible, we need an emergency meeting. We got to really address this. All hands on deck. Let's figure this out. So the number of active clients or customers is another great lead indicator that says we're going to have financial problems if we don't change this number.
Yeah, see, we often call that net new clients.
Yeah.
So what's our net new clients? And the nice thing about net new clients, which, just total number of clients does too, but net new clients also tells you if you're trying to overtax your system. Yeah. Like, are we bringing on too many? And you're right. Like, if this happens, a normal, everyday, year in, year out policy of alert the owner is great. But again, we're in the middle of coronavirus. So we need to add that second layer on of not just notify the owner, but the owner needs to have in place what they're going to do if that notification happens. It's not notify the owner and then the owner runs around and figures out, what do I do? I don't know, my house is on fire and I don't know my address. The owner says, okay, this circuit breaker has been tripped. I now need to do the pocket campaign. I know that's what I do. The campaigns are set up. I know how to do that. I can turn it on like this, right? It's the second step. All right, so another leading indicator that I like is leads. So I talk a lot about the conversion cycle and what's your conversion rate? And most people are like, oh, my conversion rate is 25%. I'm like, really? And we start looking at it. And the fact of the matter is there are numerous conversion rates within your conversion cycle, right? There's initial contact to qualified. If you sell monkeys and somebody wants to come to you to buy a car, thank you very much. I can sell you a monkey. I don't know why I chose those things, but in the heat of the moment, I didn't have a circuit breaker that told me what to say, so we ended up with monkeys and cars. You want to make sure that those people that call you are qualified. So that's your first conversion rate. The second conversion rate is if they're qualified, did they book an appointment? Okay, great. That's a good one. So we love looking at number of sales calls booked. We think that's a great leading indicator because you tend to know what percentage of those will show up, which is the next number. And let me tell you, if it's not pretty high, you've got a problem. Wait, can I stop and just tell a funny story?
Sure.
Okay. So let me check who's on. She's not on here. Okay. So I had this client. She was, she is a doctor in Pennsylvania. So I flew up to do what we call a jumpstart day. I arrive at her office and I go to the front door and I pull and it's locked. And it's like kind of this cool old, like white multi-story house / office building. And I'm like, huh. And I go and I look at the address and like her sign's out front and I check my calendar and yeah, I'm supposed to be there. And I'm like, what in the world? So finally, after a while, I called her and they were like, oh, well, if you walk to your right, go around the corner of the building, down some stairs, there's a door there that you can use to get in. Okay. Now, if she had not been paying me a lot of money to be there, yeah, I probably would not have gone to that length to get in. So if you have people not showing up, you really need to look at, again, the policies and the procedures about how you're confirming appointments, how you're making it easy for a client to come see you.
Yeah,
that's hugely important. I know we worked with an attorney at one point that sent out an email. It was such a great email. And Kristin, I think you've worked with them before too. So this may have been yours that you designed, but confirmed the appointment, sent an email that had directions on how to get to the office, directions on where to park, and pictures of the building, of where to park, and what their door looked like so you can find it inside the building, which, like, let me tell you, his people showed. So, all right. So we're looking at the leading indicator of appointments booked because generally you should have, I don't know, 90% showing up.
Yeah.
And then the last part of the conversion cycle is the one that everybody seems to know, which is once you get them in the room, how many buy.
Yeah.
But if you're looking at the appointments booked, if you're only looking at how many people you have sold once they've gotten in the room, you're a little late to the party.
Yeah.
That's almost becoming a lagging, it's like a in real time indicator. It's not looking out. And if you're looking out and saying, all right, I normally have 10, we'll call them PNCs, potential new client, but I have 10 a month and we're halfway through the month, I've had 2 and I only have 3 more booked. Like you've got some time to do something, right?
Yeah.
And it's looking back at what's effective for you and going and doing that again. So I think the leading indicators are great. So the first month that leading indicator drops, that first flag's going up and you're becoming more proactive. The second month that leading indicator is not met, you're about to start feeling it in your pocketbook, so you better be cutting the expenses because you didn't get enough. Your marketing wasn't working to combat that, which is hard.
Yeah. It's, this is part of it, everyone, of the policies and procedures create these guidelines that allow you to kind of operate and be moving forward, but have these checks and balances that are going to alert you when something, when the numbers, the leads, don't wait until the bank account is 0 or in the negative, right? Have those floors at like 20,000 or 30,000, like, so when it's before it's like too late, right? And that's part of just always writing your policies and procedures to be evergreen, right? We're not writing a document for just today. We're writing for moving forward. Can I show another example of that in the policy and procedures? Since this is part, everyone, of getting those policies and procedures written, so they're going to keep propelling you forward, new level, new devil. So here's another one. So this is in like identifying a credit card merchant vendor as an example, right? We carefully vet them and we carefully sign up and we take the time to set up the reporting and know that we've got all the numbers that we're looking at daily, weekly, monthly. And then every year we're reviewing this on the 15th, January 15th, July 15th. It's easy to calendar, and again, I like this, I didn't realize, but the owner, the bookkeeper, and the CFO are having this conversation ahead of time so that we're very proactive and we know what our numbers need to stay in and we know where we need to, pivot and go somewhere else. So, when you're writing these policies and procedures, guys, be proactive, be looking ahead, engage your core team, and know, your CFO, like you did, Brooke, you knew exactly for that spreadsheet, at 30,000, we're good. At 20,000, we're not good. At 15,000, it's horrible. Like, what are we going to do? Who are we cutting? Having that knowledge ahead of time is so important to all of this. So, guys, policies and procedures take time. I know I'm working with a bunch of clients and building out the financial systems manuals and marketing manuals and different things. And don't expect them always to happen overnight. Part of it is you build them as you grow and as different situations come to you. But use this COVID-19 time of uncertainty to kind of think through what could be our checks and balances. How can we present them so that in the future, we know when do you push through and when do you need to pivot, cut expenses, and which expenses do you cut? Don't cut your dynamic expenses that can bring you more money. Look at how you shorten up some of those static expenses, renegotiate, or bring it, like you showed in-house. So absolutely, this is like a great time to really build that infrastructure of your business.
Well, and I think it's also a good time. There has been a seismic shift in the way we all do business.
Mm-hmm.
Whether you have actually realized it or not, because everyone says when we're getting back to normal, we're never going back to what we were then.
Yeah.
This is a great time to look at your business and really evaluate what's working and what's not. What do you like? What do you not like? What needs to change? What needs to be different? That is huge. And so take this opportunity to redesign your business. If you want your people to be able to work from home, I know one of the guys that's on here has been trying to migrate his people to work from home for the past year. And now they're really working from home. I mean, mission accomplished. But I don't know that it was going as quickly as he wanted it to go until we were forced. But, what do you want it to look like? What changes is that going to mean to your company? What are those policies and procedures? How are we going to be different? And put thought into it. And Kristin, like, that's one of the things that you're so good at is tying back where we're going to what those policies and procedures say and what you're doing.
Yeah. Well, and I think one of the key things that, Brooke, that you were just talking about, that if you're only trying to build a $600,000 business and take 30%, 35, 40% profit out, you only need to build to a certain level. If you're planning to build a $3 million business and take 20% profit out or 25%, great. You're going to need some different types of policies and procedures and checks and balances when you're running, $240,000 a month through your operating account, right? And so you're going to have different checks and balances at different levels. Be okay with the fact you don't have to be the big 3 million. You don't have, pick what you want to build and build the systems to match that. I talk a lot about, I published a book earlier this year, Uplevel Your Business, Uplevel Your Life. And at the end of each chapter are action steps on how to systematize your business. But it all goes back to what kind of business do you want to build? And that's why there's no happy one size fits all. It's very individualized.
Right. And we can get that book on Amazon, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So I was sorry, I just had to do a little plug there. All right. So I was talking to someone who had not put any policies and procedures in effect. And he's one of those people. There are these people in the world. I am not one of them. They just kind of naturally market and sell.
Yeah.
And they just they're like client magnets. I've never understood. not me. I cannot help you with your marketing. I can tell you whether it's working or not. I can give you all kinds of stats about it, but don't ask me for suggestions. So he was one of those people, like clients were flooding in. And he said, here's the thing, like, I don't have a solid foundation. And I'm trying to build a $3 million business on a foundation designed for a $500,000 business. Like, you got some problems there.
Yeah.
Because what happens if you put a 5,000 square foot house on a slab designed for a 1,500 square foot house?
Yeah.
It's going to
You got problems.
You got problems.
You got problems.
You better kiss that house goodbye. And I'm guessing insurance won't cover that. So, you want to, as Kristin said, you want those policies and procedures. You want to have that good foundation, and you want it to be appropriate for where you're going. It doesn't have to be, you don't have to have the policies of a $50 million firm when you're doing 500,000.
Yeah.
But you do need to be probably, Kristin, I'm going to guess slightly ahead of where you are, right?
Yes.
So
yes.
your policies are always kind of you're always kind of growing into your policies a little bit.
Yeah. You should be thinking, where are we going to be 12 months from now? 12 to 18 months. You're building the policies and procedures, not necessarily for how it's done today. You're looking for what are we trying to build to in the next 6 months, 12 months, so that you're mapping that progress. That's going to help you grow even faster and smoothly. And so that's part of you guys, with policies and procedures, you got the short-term benefits that are, you're going to be more efficient. You're going to be more streamlined. It's going to be less clunky. But you've got those long-term benefits of you're creating equity and peace of mind and freedom. And so it's worth taking the time, even just 60 minutes, 90 minutes every single week, or even every 2 weeks. I would take that. You'll build your business. This is what's going to help inoculate you from some of the ups and downs like COVID-19.
Yeah, and I used to do one a week, which I think is kind of one of your deals, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
Do one a week. And I had 3 going at all times. I had a draft, I had a up for review, and I had this is the one we're going to finalize.
Implement. Yeah.
And implement. Yeah.
It's a great way.
Yeah. And so you're always kind of building it. And one of the other things that you said that I thought was so great, you're always looking for where you're going. You're building for where you want to be. And that's one of the things as CFOs that we do. Like, we know where you are today, but we're looking down the road for you. Like, where are we going to be? What are the problems we're going to encounter? What do we need to fix now? Because we can see that this is going to develop it and become a problem.
And that's, I coach business owners all the time and talk to them. I mean, they're growing fast. They start working with me. We start, seeing some good progress. And it's like, we need to look to get you a CFO. And they're like, oh, I don't need a CFO yet. Well, I'm not that big. And I'm like, you know what? You're going to be there before you know it. And you want to be in front of that problem, not behind. You want to be proactive. You want to, just like those policies and procedures, if you're going to stand up and be a CEO of your business and a leader, you've got to be looking forward into the future. You can't, a manager manages today. A leader manages the future. So definitely need those CFOs, need those policies and procedures. I'm definitely an advocate.
You are. Okay, so we only have a couple of minutes left, and we promised an hour, and I am big into delivering on our promises. It's got to be on time. A couple of things. Kristin, if people want to contact you, how do they get you?
Sure. Just come to our website, www.uplevelingyourbusiness.com. You can also email me, Kristin, at either thekristindavid.com or Kristin@uplevelingyourbusiness.com. Listen, guys, easy to find me. I'm all over social media, all over the place. We help busy business owners build thriving, profitable businesses that are run with systems, because I know what it was like to struggle. I know how much better it is on the other side to be thriving and have a great team that can act on things. And even if one of my team members has to step aside, my policies and procedures are there so that somebody else can step in. My mission is to help thousands of other business owners get there too. So yes, easy to find me, reach out. We're happy to like sit down, help you triage where you can make some forward movement in your business.
Awesome. All right. So I have a couple of kind of announcements. We understand how coronavirus has been a seismic shift. So if you have questions about coronavirus and your financials, go to our website. We have built an entire coronavirus website that will talk to you about the PPP loan, the EIDL loan. What are things you need to know to track it, to forgive it? There are tools. We have been doing 2 of these a week. You can go on our website. The webinar section has all of our webinars and Facebook Lives. So if you want to learn something that we covered 2 weeks ago, you can go there and find it. cathcap.com, cathcap.com, for those of you that don't know. You can always get me either through the website or Brooke at cathcap.com. And yes, Brooke has an E. And then for those of you that I don't know, either don't watch the news or have been living under a rock. Last Friday, late afternoon, the SBA thought, we're going to get smart and we're going to release the PPP loan forgiveness application when no one notices. Well, I got to tell you, we noticed. It's kind of a bear of an application. It's not necessarily difficult. It just requires a lot of information and it's a pain in the rear to fill out. We are developing a worksheet that is where you'll fill out certain parts and it's going to populate the rest of the application for you.
Awesome.
Oh, I'm totally excited. We should have that mid next week. Well, really, I'm excited because to fill them all out and to do all the calculations by hand for all of our clients, because like that's one of the things we do. If you're our client, we calculate your PPP loan forgiveness for you and hand you the thing so that you can go to the bank and just fill it out, right?
It's awesome.
Oh, super. We try to make everything so easy for our clients. We filled out their we calculated their PPP amounts before they applied. So if you're doing this, like we should have that available next Wednesday-ish, we think. If you want a copy, put it in the chat. I'll make sure you get a copy when we send it out. And then the other thing is on June 5th, we're actually going to teach a webinar on how to go through and fill it out. And we're going to go through it. We're going to show people how to fill it out. And then we're going to have a chunk of time where people can ask questions. I'm going to make sure that we don't have anything scheduled after the webinar in case we need to run long.
Okay. So
that's coming out 3 o'clock Central. And oh, look, we just got an email came in. It says, here's the first iteration of the completed PPP application forgiveness.
Wow.
To test. So we're going to test it. So it's definitely going to be ready by next week. So that's June 5th, 3 o'clock Central. And we are going to do a webinar. So we'll send out another email like we did for this one. Kristen, I know that you do one webinar a month, don't you?
I do. Second Thursday of the month.
And do you know what your next topic is? Or do you even want to reveal it this far out?
No, that's fine. No, we do. It's already out there, and we go through these. Listen, we're coming back around of taking control of your financials and talking about a little bit more about some of those financial systems manuals. And we did one a couple weeks ago on how to fix your broken bank account, a couple months ago, and it was a favorite. And we keep getting a bunch of people asking about how do we kind of build out a financial systems manual. So we're going to be talking about that a little bit more next month. And yeah, every month it's a different topic, and you guys can always get on to our website. It always has the listing of what's to come.
Awesome. Sounds great. Okay. My computer just binged and binged again and binged 40 seconds. Not shut everything down before this. So thank you so much.
Yes, thank you, Brooke. This was wonderful. Thanks for having me on.
A lot of fun. All right. Bye.
Bye, everyone.
If you need us, you can always get us.
Bye.